name is the NEC Chair of Communications. There's a committee called Communications that DCIP accounts to. So I come from time to time as and when there is a need. So today I'm with the Secretary General of the African National Congress. You are all aware that our campaign is hot all over the country, wall to wall. And today we're going to give you an update of where things are. All issues that are part of this campaign will be addressing them today. And of course, thereafter we'll take questions, and the Secretary General will be on his way to KZN. That's where the National Executive Committee is at the moment, mobilizing there. But anyway, I'll hand over to the SG. But because the campaign is hot, you will be here with us. Thank you. And then we'll take questions afterwards.
Thank you, Comrade Nkenke, and the members of the media for responding to the briefing of the African National Congress on the election campaign and political issues in our environment. And we know that what is key for you in the political environment is the disciplinary case, which we'll clarify. This briefing takes place 23 days before millions of South Africans will exercise their hard-won right to continue authoring their collective destiny by voting and entrusting their democratically elected representatives to continue working for and with them to do more, together to build a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa in which all enjoy a better life. This briefing also takes place a day after we celebrated what would have been the pre-centenary birthday of Comrade Ruth First, journalist, academic, political activist, who was born on the 4th of May 2020, who was born on May. Her life was brutally cut short by a parcel bomb sent to her office at the Eduardo Mandlane University in Maputo by the murderous apartheid security apparatus. The life and struggle of Comrade Ruth First bears bitter testimony to the fact that our freedom was not free, but attained through commitment and the supreme sacrifice by brave women and men. It also underscores the non-racial and non-sexist character of the struggle against apartheid colonialism. Over the past 30 years, the people of South Africa, led by the ANC, have been at the forefront of a movement to construct a new South Africa. Our country has come a long way. We have made incredible strides and achieved so much. However, even after 30 years of freedom and democracy, our journey towards the South Africa that our people truly desire is far from over. We still have more hills to climb. In the 2024 elections, we'll therefore go beyond celebrating accomplishments. We learn from the past, from mistakes and setbacks, as we learn from achievements. The fundamental question for this year, the 30th anniversary of our freedom, is whether South Africa's transformation from an apartheid, colonial, patriarchal, and divided past may be halted or reversed, or whether the democratic renewal, national rejuvenation, and socio-economic transformation agenda shall gain new impetus. The ANC-led Alliance election campaign continues to escalate and move from strength to strength as ANC members and supporters go to every farm, village, and township, to every town, city, and suburb, to account to the people, placing the ANC manifesto into the eager hands of our people as we seek a renewed democratic mandate to defend and advance the gains of 3 decades of freedom. The spirit of our volunteers is soaring, fully embracing President Ramaphosa's vibrant call to action, Maihlo Mihlasele. On Wednesday, 1st May 2024, the Revolutionary Alliance of the ANC SG Fikile and SANCO held massive and successful May Day rallies in all provinces. The National May Day rally was addressed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. These rallies showed the determination of workers to defend and advance the gains made by the working class over the past 30 years against the threats posed by reactionary and anti-transformation forces. This dynamic phase of our campaign has been marked by the inspiring presence of ANC stalwarts, former President Thabo Mbeki, former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, former Deputy President Didi Mabuza, and former Treasurer General Matthews Posa, joining forces with our dedicated volunteers. Together, they are engaging in open dialogues with South Africans, acknowledging past challenges, but more significantly, celebrating our collective triumphs over the last 3 decades. As the momentum builds, more stalwarts are joining the campaign trail in the days to come. Details of such will be communicated as programs are finalized. Thanks to the steadfast efforts and progressive leadership of successive ANC governments, South Africa stands proudly united in its rich diversity, claiming its esteemed spot within the global community. The ANC's vision for South Africa is the vibrant bond that unites us, igniting the full potential of every South African to boldly shape their future. It's a vision that not only binds us together, but also propels us forward towards a destiny of our own making. In the coming week, 6 to 12 May, of leaders of the Revolutionary Alliance, the full National Executive Committee of the ANC, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, the Central Committee of COSATU, the NEC of SANCO, as well as the NECs of the Women's League, Veterans League, Youth League, Young Communist League, will start a week of intensive campaigning in KwaZulu-Natal. This intensive election campaign trail is both unprecedented and an innovation. This afternoon, President Cyril Ramaphosa will address this leadership collective as it prepares to engage citizens across the length and breadth of KwaZulu-Natal, joining thousands and thousands of ANC volunteers on the ground in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. The following week, 13th to 19th May, the intensive campaign trail moves to Gauteng province and beyond. The ANC is taking groundbreaking steps on digital platforms. This week we launched ANC Connect, our exclusive podcast channel on YouTube that brings the pulse of the liberation legacy right to your screen. This was launched with the first interview with the President of the African National Congress. Dive deep into the heart of our manifesto, where we lay out a clear, actionable plan for an overwhelming victory and a brighter tomorrow. That's not all. Tomorrow we launch a revolutionary My ANC app, your one-stop digital hub for interactive dialogue and comprehensive campaign insights. This is more than just an app, it's a movement in the palm of your hand, connecting you to the change you want to see. Announcements will be made on all our social and digital media platforms, so be sure to follow, like, and engage with us. As we stand on the brink of a defining moment, the Siyanqoba rally beckons us to the iconic FNB Stadium on the 25th of May 2024. Alongside, we will launch, as we started in the Free State, in Putarichaba, where the President addressed the Siyanqoba rally in Kwakwa, Malutia Pofung. That will be followed by other provinces throughout the country. This is more than a gathering. It's a clarion call by President Ramaphosa and the ANC for unity and collective action. This massive gathering will be preceded by provincial Siyangoba rallies in all provinces on the 17 to 18 May 2024 as build-up activities for the national rally. We stand united, resolute in our vision for progress. And it's time for every South African to heed this call. Together, let's forge a path of shared success and endeavor. We call upon all South Africans to join us as we rally our spirits and efforts to do more together. The future is ours to shape, and every step we take is a stride towards a brighter, shared destiny. Let's make history together at the Siyangoba rally. Your presence is the catalyst for change. Let's do more together. However, we know that there are social and political forces that are working hard to undermine the gains of freedom made over the last 3 decades. They want to stop the march towards a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous country that truly belongs to all. The counter-revolutionary and anti-transformation forces are converging in 2 pacts, while at the same time seeking to fragment the forces for change through splinter groups and small parties that will contest the ANC. Another counter-revolutionary and anti-transformation tactic is to ensure that the ANC is locked up in internal struggles that will weaken and destroy it from within. They actively encourage rebel breakaway groupings to erode the support base of the ANC. Often these start as factional conflicts within the ANC, but when the movement pushes ahead with its renewal, they mutate into opposition parties that are as opposed to the ANC as the right-wing opponents of transformation. Some of these parties masquerade as more radical than the ANC, but their revolutionary-sounding rhetoric cannot hide the reality that they have common cause with the forces opposing transformation. The shared goal of all these forces is to deprive the ANC of the ability to use state power to effect change. As the National Executive Committee pointed out in its 2024 January 8 statement, I quote, "The ANC is committed to developing and, where necessary, correcting its members and leaders," close quote. However, as renewal gains momentum, those whose conduct is in conflict with our values and principles, the criminals, the corrupt, the careerists and factionalists, and those who actively work against the organization will find themselves outside the ANC. Some of these elements, including former leaders of the ANC, have through their pronouncements and actions clearly and unambiguously placed themselves outside the ANC through violation of its constitution, the solemn contract between the organization and its members, by, I quote, "standing in an election for local and provincial or national government, or acting as the election agent or canvasser of a person standing in such election for any political party in opposition to a candidate duly endorsed by NEC or PEC," close quote. These members have, in the eyes of ANC members and society, effectively, quote unquote, constructively resigned or expelled themselves from the ANC. Notwithstanding this reality, the ANC is committed to the rule of law and following the processes set out in the ANC constitution, including disciplinary processes. However, the leadership of the ANC is also committed and duty-bound to act responsibly in safeguarding the life and property of its members and the people of South Africa and the integrity and stability of the electoral process. The Constitution of the ANC enjoins the NEC and the Secretary General's office to respect the integrity and independence of the National Disciplinary Committee and to take all steps necessary to support its work, including ensuring the safety of its members. In pursuance of this duty and based on an assessment of the security situation prevailing at Luthuli House, the Secretary General's office was advised that activities that have the potential to attract large gatherings that might result in violent or disruptive behavior are not advisable, especially close to election day. This is exacerbated by the activities of certain political parties in organizing demonstrations and sit-ins at Luthuli House, disguised as neutral people, but within those marches and the sittings that have happened here, we have identified political parties which have organized such destructive activities along our building at Luthuli House. And we have taken steps legally to correct that particular situation. And we will further take steps even to the Electoral Commission to expose these activities of some of these political parties. It was in this context that the NDC was requested to be mindful of these concerns and consider holding in abeyance any disciplinary proceedings that require in-person meetings at Luthuli House until the 2024 elections. The ANC-led alliance and the broad progressive movement remains the only reliable force that is capable and that has a tradition of uniting and working with various social forces to advance the national democratic agenda. Unique among political formation in South Africa, the ANC has been able to work with workers, women, youth, progressive professionals, intellectuals, business people, middle strata, faith-based organizations, cultural activists, traditional leaders, and various community-based and non-governmental organizations to achieve social and economic change. The onslaught against transformation should make us more determined this year to succeed in building a better life for all and to be more deliberate and resolute about the renewal of the ANC, the broad democratic forces, and our society. At the same time, there are forces that seek to use this election to undo the progress of democracy. It is crucial that together we defend our hard-won freedom. In conclusion, the ANC remains committed to obtaining an overwhelming mandate from the people of South Africa to implement its 2024 election manifesto. We'll focus on 6 priorities that are critical to speeding up transformation and improving the lives of the people. Our jobs plan, building our industries to include an inclusive economy, tackling the high cost of living, investing in people, defending democracy, and advancing freedom, and building a better Africa and the world. We will do better, we will do more, and we'll do it faster together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SG. I'm going to take questions. The comprehensive statement on our update of our election campaign, and would like to take questions. Please just say who you are and your newsroom and ask a very brief question. I'll start on my left and then we'll move like that. Yeah, you do have roving mics there. Yeah. Okay. Just give her the other one. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it fine?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Zolega Kodashe from the SABC. I have a couple of questions. I don't know if we'll be able to take all of them, SG. But I just want to ask in relation to the disciplinary action that the ANC has chosen to take against former ANC President Jacob Zuma. I just want to know about the timing and what informed that. Because part of your constitution does say that you take action against members of the ANC, and on previous occasions, the ANC and its officials have said that he is no longer a member. Can you just clarify what informs the timing? I also want to know, yesterday was Press Freedom Day. I want to know the take of the governing party's or its stance in relation to allegations that the state security has been unleashed, allegedly, on the SABC's head of news. And there were also reports about the ANC president lamenting newsrooms over the coverage of ANC rallies and the ANC's election campaign, if that does not amount to interference as well. And the ANC had that it will take the trademark case on appeal. Can we know how far that process is? Thank you.
Thanks. Next.
Thank you. It's Kani Makana from SABC News. A question for the SG, Mr. Mbalula. You said that there was a security assessment that was done that informed the letter advising the NDC regarding temporarily suspending those activities that were supposed to take place on Tuesday. Now we know that usually where there are these events involving the former ANC president, that there are rallies held outside by the MK party. We saw it at the electoral court of Bloemfontein with both parties holding rallies outside the court, as well as the KZN High Court of Durban where we did the same, and both rallies were held safely and both parties emerged from those, I guess, court sittings without any violence taking place. So I guess the question is, what informed the security concerns with this upcoming hearing that was supposed to take place here at Mutuli House? And secondly, the letter in which you advised the NDC as the Secretary General, did that not undermine the NDC and its independence in performing its work despite the election campaign that's taking place? And then just to add to my colleague Zebega's question, the context upon which that is asked is that even though we know you did address this issue of the leaked audio recording in the last briefing that you held after the KZN High Court ruling, we know that the head of news had started that vetting process about 2 years ago and didn't hear anything until a few weeks shy of the elections, then being asked to come in for a polygraph, then raising concerns about the timing of this request right before elections. And we know the history concerning that role of the head of news in the SABC. So that is the context upon which the question is asked as to what is the governing party saying about this, because although that role is a top-level executive role, it's still considered an editor-in-chief of the SABC. Thank you.
All right. The last two questions this side.
What is your name?
Kani Makana.
Kenny.
Yes.
From?
SABC.
Okay.
From Eyewitness News. I will have a question regarding the intensive campaign in KwaZulu-Natal. Is that going to be done in all provinces, or is this just KZN? Because I think we know, obviously, there is the strength of the MK party. Is that what this intensive campaign in KwaZulu-Natal is inspired by? Thank you.
My name is Lunga. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. Also, can you hear me? Yes. My question was also going to be based on that the MK party, obviously, in most cases they are in KZN. Is there any worry that there might be clashes between the ANC and MK party there? And what I wanted to speak to you about was also the issue of the former president Kgalema Motlanthe seems to have admitted that the list of the NEC was indeed, the list of the candidates to the IEC was indeed changed. Do you have any knowledge of that? Because mostly what they say is when they gave it to you, to your office, the list seems to have changed from there. Can you maybe say who was removed or who was added in that? And then the issue of the former president, the DC. I mean, you had previously said that there's no need to even hold a DC for Zuma because it expelled himself. But if you look at that guy from KZN, Maverick, whoever joined, that guy who was also a parliamentarian, he joined MK party. There was no need for a DC. Why is it that you feel, because it sounds selective, why is it that you feel that you have to now call former President Zuma to a DC when with him it was just an issue that is no longer a member? And also, the campaign by all the former presidents, it seems to me that you are blaming the regress of the ANC from Zuma's years. It seems like him was the problem. Can you address that, SG, to say what has been the problem in the entire leadership of the ANC from the 30 years? Because it seems to be mostly focused on the Zuma years. And lastly, allegations that he's the last signatory of the ANC. Is that something? Is that true? That is the last signatory of the ANC? And if he is, what consequences would that have on the ANC? Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got 14 questions. should be very excited as the ANC that there is so much attention, right? Okay, so the SG is going to answer all those questions, and if there are any follow-ups, we'll then entertain follow-ups and then close the conference thereafter, right? Over to the SG.
Thank you very much for the questions. First, Zoleka SABC, timing of action against JG Zuma. The events around Jacob Zuma have been very fluid and ever-changing, rapidly so. From the announcement of voting for MK to now becoming something else, leading the party, so to say. So they've been rapid. In between that, we need to remind you about the decisions the ANC have taken. The National Executive Committee, in its last meeting, before we launched our campaign, took a decision which we announced in public, that we invoke a rule in our constitution to formally take action against Jacob Zuma. And that led to the action of him being suspended as a member. Him being suspended, that means that the disciplinary processes kick in. And that means that within 30 days, you would have been given a charge sheet, which that has happened. Within 6 months, you must have been taken to task and explain himself before the DC in terms of the ANC constitutional prescripts. And that is underway. Nothing has changed. And from that point, it meant that Jacob Zuma is no longer a member of the ANC. He's under suspension, as it is. So the DC acts on its own in terms of implementing and undertaking the task of dealing with people who are alleged to have brought the party to disrepute one way or the other. And that's what they have undertaken, independent from all of us, which the NDC is the structure of the ANC and independent in terms of executing its mandate. So they've done that. Absolutely correct, within their right and their mandate. And that is what has led to the disciplinary case that is supposed to sit on Tuesday. So that's the first question I wish to clarify, that timing and action has actually been informed by Jacob Zuma himself in terms of how he behaves and how he moves in terms of his conduct as an individual member of the ANC, so to say. State security allegations. This matter has been clarified by State Security Minister, has been clarified by SAPC. There are two statements in relation to this matter. One from the SAPC, and that State Security have said that SAPC is their client. They don't go around chasing people and vetting everybody at random. So SAPC, as the client of State Security, if it decides, the board and the management, that everybody at SAPC, at whatever level, must be vetted, that's the decision of the SAPC. Now, the ANC does not get involved in the tasks undertaken by various institutions in undertaking the mission of exercising their management prerogatives. Their management prerogatives. The ANC cannot be seen to be interfering with that. And the SAPC must clarify itself in relation to the statement they've issued, which I thought the matter belonged to the doorstep of the SAPC. And the State Security Minister have clarified the issue. So from our part, that matter is closed. Unless if there is an infringement of the rights of individuals in relation to press freedom and all of that, of which the ANC has been very clear that we don't interfere with press freedom and the rights of journalists and journalists being harassed and all of that. We don't subscribe to that. But what happened within institutions in terms of management prerogatives, we can't negotiate that. We are far from that. Otherwise, we'll be accused of macro-management as a party. So it's not a technical issue, it's a political issue that we can't macro-manage institutions. We come from a bitter past of state capture, which meant that institutions have been macro-managed. In this particular instance, at the SAPC, there is an independent board led there, I don't know the chairperson, led by the chairperson, and then that board have taken responsibility and issued statements. So I think SAPC must ask the question to the SAPC itself in relation to this particular matter. I've clarified the issue of we don't entertain in the ANC gossip and leakages. That a meeting was intercepted and President made remarks, and those remarks are now interpreted to meaning that it's interference with press freedom. It's taking matters too far. What people discuss behind corridors of their own political parties is their own independence, and it must be respected as such. You can therefore not second guess what the president said and want to interpret it to meaning something that it did not mean. Let me explain to you. When we discuss, we look at the landscape and the political coverage in the country. Every political party, even small, they are concerned about how they get covered. So that's why political parties engage with media houses about how they get covered. And the ANC, as the largest political party in this country, I'm sure in your newsrooms you've got a difficulty how to cover us. We are not a one-man party. It's difficult to cover the ANC, and I'm sure you get complaints that you are favoring the ANC. But it's the nature of the political landscape in the country. The ANC is the largest political party. You can't help it. It's not a one-man show. Today, as I'm speaking here, leaders of the ANC are everywhere in the country, including former leaders. And other people are now crying foul. Why are former leaders helping the ANC? I mean, if Tony Leon tomorrow decides to campaign like he does for the DA, will I say, well, why? If he decides to defend the DA, will I say why? He's a leader of the DA. Our leaders have never crossed to another point except the one that you know, who has taken us on. And he's got a difficulty to explain that decision. He's contradicting himself every day about the decision he has taken to challenge the ANC as a former leader of the ANC. He's alone in that pedestal with members of the ANC, some of them who have left because they believe in him as a person. But ANC leaders at any given point in time will stand up on their own up until Nelson Mandela. Remember when Nelson Mandela went to Eastern Cape, and then you journalists said he was frail, and then he said there, Mandela, when he spoke, and then he said, Inkosi yethu ngumsholozi, nguye osikhokhelayo ngoku, sonke we are behind Jacob Zuma. He came to Siyanqoba rally to endorse the ANC. And then you said the ANC went to fetch Mandela when he was frail at home and all of that and so on. And so that was not the issue. So the question is that ANC leaders have always supported the ANC at any given point in time, and they cannot be judged by anyone about standing for the party and supporting the movement. The trademark case is on course in terms of being taken on appeal, and it will be placed on the court roll soon, as we have been granted permission by the Durban High Court to actually appeal if we want to. And we have decided to appeal, and I've announced that point to you. Kenny, with regard to security concerns, what informed that? I mean, security concerns come from the state side and even our own security. And it's not up to me to reveal that, but to act, because we've got all the information. So we have informed the NDC, you are independent, And therefore, we ask this matter be put in abeyance because we don't want something that happened in the past, like when the DA came here and then there was violence. It was minimal. And this one can be big. So we have stopped that because the ANC disciplinary processes are internal processes. So the NDC is independent, but is a structure of the ANC. And if you read the ANC constitution, you will see there what is the role of the Secretary General of the ANC. I've communicated that decision of the officials to the NDC that this matter must be put in abeyance. Of course, there are people who say, no, Zuma must be taken on and all of that. We understand that. So nobody says the DC must be put in abeyance, but the time of it must happen at a particular time. So the DC will continue, and it is absolutely within the framework of the ANC constitution. So nothing is in violation of the ANC constitution. Neither are we interfering with it. So that is the case, and the DC is fully supported by the National Executive Committee, as communicated by the Secretary General to the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee. So there is no conflict between us and the NDC. I'm doing the job that I'm expected to undertake by the constitution of the ANC, working and interacting between structures, units of the ANC to communicate ANC instructions. Some of these decisions are instructions. They are not negotiable, some. But some are negotiable. But my job is also to communicate instructions of the ANC. The NDC is very independent. There's no point about it. I've addressed the issue of the vetting of the SAPC, Head of News, and I just to emphasize the point that is the call of the SAPC in relation to how it undertakes its work, and that is it. I wish to reiterate that we don't question managed prerogatives of institutions. So SAPC is independent now. It's run there by the board, and it must be answerable and accountable to itself, but also to Parliament and to the people of South Africa. So they have explained their decision. I've read their statement in relation to this matter. Tabiso, intensive campaign. Our campaign is not an intensive care unit, it's intensive. As you can see, I mean, ANC is all over. I mean, that is the ANC capacity in terms of the election campaign. We know and we have explained that the vote to us will not be, it's not a given. You've got to go convince, talk to people why they must vote for the ANC. And this is what our volunteers and our leadership have done. To us, this moment is very interactive because asking people to vote for you is equally to get a feedback, is to get a fresh mandate. And we know now, as we go in this campaign, that our manifesto is very consistent, but it's a very practical manifesto in terms of the things that we want to do as a government in the next 5 years. So we campaign everywhere, not only where we are faced with a threat. KwaZulu-Natal is not a threat, it's a densely populated province with biggest numbers of voters, where voters are found. So we have done this before. We will do this in Gauteng. They've been defined as the battleground in a way. And so, of course, with the MK party, others have defined it as a threat to the ANC. But we have said to our members, our posters have been tiered in that part of the province and everything else. We must calm down and be peaceful and be tolerant to everybody. And thus far, campaign has been good in KZN and quite vibrant in a way. Lunga, do we worry about MK party? No, we don't. If we're going to worry about the party, then it means we will not campaign. was the list changed. We gave an account here about the list of the ANC, that the chairperson of the list, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, gave you a report. The Secretary General used to run the ANC. Let me educate you. In the past, Lunga, Makashule, Gwede Mandashi, they used to run ANC list and Kgalema Motlanthe. The conference of the ANC in Mangaung and in Nazareth, subsequent two conferences, changed that and said that we must establish an independent electoral commission. So the matter then left the hands of the SG. So I'm the very SG who did not have the advantage maybe of interfering with people, because others did. Of course, working with the collectives in something that was called the list committee. So we didn't have list committees. We had PLCs in the provinces. And then at national, we had an electoral committee led by Comrade Kgalema, supported by election. So whoever is your source, very destructive, and gave you, I don't blame you, get me wrong. Who gave you, it's clear he wants to deal with Mbalula. He doesn't want to deal with the facts, because what he wants to portray that Mbalula was pressing piano on the ANC list. I don't have such powers. My job was just to press and ensure that the list is submitted on time. That's what I did. And of course, there are glitches. There are about 4 provinces which we reported that are affected. Those matters are attended to. Largely affected is Limpopo. We are addressing that matter. We are investigating what actually happened. And tomorrow we will meet with the officials of Limpopo in Durban, with the officials to get the report. The NWC have resolved to establish not a forensic, but an investigation in terms of what happened in terms of those provinces. Let me tell you this, because they tell you at night and they distort things. So that's what has happened. It's not a secret. That's the report that came with Kgalema Motlanthe and all of that. So that committee, which is led by Tembi, will then, not Tembi Nkarimi, the former Minister of Intelligence, DG of Intelligence, Tembi Major, will then report to the NEC after the election what must happen to those who are affected. There are very few people who are affected. In Gauteng, it was 3. And then in Northwest, it was 3. In KZN, it was 3. All our lists, national to national, were perfect. Where there was a bigger challenge was Limpopo. But equally, that one, we are attending to it. So that's what has actually happened. So there's never been any interference, because what the SG does is to press the button and submit the list to the IC. So that's what has happened. Now, the list is firmly in the hands of the list committee. The MDC for Zuma process, let me clarify you also, Lunga, in terms of Zuma and the DC process of Jacob Zuma. Zuma was suspended by the ANC. Since his suspension, right, he has taken decisive action to become a leader of a party, registered, and all of that. The ANC have equally taken and implemented all its decisions. One was the deregistration of MK. We lost. I repeat, we lost. And we decided not to challenge it in terms of on appeal. Trademark, it's a legacy issue. I explained. We are challenging that. Because we did not want to say we are dragging the Zuma deregistration matter because we are delaying the election process to continue. And we are being petty. We were doing what is within our right as a party. When we lost, we left it there. Okay? Zuma now is faced his own issues between himself and the IC. And that is the matter. That is before the courts. It's got nothing to do with the ANC as an organization. So we need to clarify that. Since then, and the court cases that Zuma has won, including the trademark issue, he has shown determination to be outside the ANC. Okay? There was no retreat on that point. And then using this Mkhonto Wesizwe and running with it. So, he has written his own history. Nobody is writing it for him. He has written his own history on his own, outside the African National Congress. So since that time of the National Executive Committee suspending him, he has shown no remorse but determination to be outside the ANC. And that's what he has done. Now, what the ANC is doing is to implement what is within its constitution and its rules. And then Zuma has agreed to subject himself to that because he says he's a member. He has agreed. So that is good. He's subjecting himself to that, so we don't want him to suffer prejudice and pronouncing things that he will pronounce otherwise in the future. So he has subjected himself. The issue that has been addressed is the issue of mobilization that is going on here around Luthuli House, and that will lead to violence. Because at the end of the day, we will be accountable at that particular moment. But the processes of the NDC must and will proceed. All what we are saying in terms of the instruction was that they must be put in abeyance. We are 20 days tomorrow to elections on the 29th. So that's what is important, and we communicated to the NDC unambiguously. So, 30th challenge, it's not correct. Each president served the ANC, there are challenges and failures and all of that, and then they also had achievements. But when we have witnessed the biggest setback in our struggle, no doubt, is in the past 20 years. And in the past 20 years, the ANC have admitted in the last election that we have veered off and we are on the process of renewal. So as a matter of principle, that issue is on our manifesto. And that is why people have returned us. And our commitment to renewal itself is what has renewed people's confidence and hope in the African National Congress. So there is no differentiation in terms of leaders. But the fact of the matter is that in the past 20 years, that's when we have seen major setbacks. And the image of the party battered, you know, in a way that you could not, compare it to anyone on issues of corruption, state capture, and all of those things. So those things came up, and we are addressing those issues. The last point is Zuma signatory to the ANC. What I know is that I'm the Secretary General, so I'm the second signatory of the ANC. I was elected in a conference. So if Zuma was elected in 1991, I don't know, the constitution of the ANC says he's a signatory for life. I've seen that circulated, so I don't want to respond to speculations. We will wait till people who are raising those issues on social media come to us with their madness. So we'll see it at that time. But I'm not going to respond to faceless social media distraction. The ANC is known as a party in South Africa. It has been contesting elections, successive elections. It has never been a property of an individual. And then leaders of the ANC get to change from time to time. So that is it. Now, if people believe in their madness, that they've got a case that they want to advance, including deregistering the ANC, we'll deal with it when it comes to us at that moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we've dealt with all questions. Just mopping up. So let me just check where are the follow-ups. 1, 2 follow-ups. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mbalula, I just need clarity.
Can I stand there
Yeah.
and mop up? Yeah.
Kenny Makana again, sorry, from SABC. So I just need clarity for reporting purposes. So on Tuesday is a virtual hearing, which will continue with the process, or does your advice to the NDC still stand? And you expect that?
No, we said the NDC must stand in abeyance, including virtual, till after elections.
So nothing is taking place on Tuesday?
We don't expect anything to take place on Tuesday, as the instruction has been communicated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
SG, look, I hear that you are saying the NDC is independent. If it is that independent, SG, what happens in the case that they find him not guilty? Will you welcome him back to the ANC?
We can't address a hypothesis. I mean, the cases are determined on the basis of empirical, I mean, not even empirical, on the basis of evidence provided, fairness, and all of those things. So, hypothesis, what happens if he's not guilty? He's not guilty. If he's guilty, he's guilty, and that is it. So, how do we address it? Because you are leading me to prejudice. That Mbalula found Zuma guilty even before he appeared before the ANC. Don't do that. Just be a journalist. Don't be sensational. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the press statement that we have given to you. We are on the ground. We are the only party on the ground. We don't see any other opposition parties on the ground. We are doing our work. We are not arrogant. We intend to make contact with our people, and we are determined to see that the ANC emerge victorious in these coming elections. And no side issues will deter